YouTubers, I want to welcome you to another edition of Bargain Bin Gear. And in this episode, we're going to see why I replaced my Line 6 M5 pedal. Now the M5 is a Line 6 effects pedal, and it has 100 plus different effects, and now you can only choose one at a time out of those 100. Here it is. This is the old Line 6 M5. As you can see, it's quite a huge pedal. It takes up a ton of real estate on your pedal board. It's made of metal though, so it's pretty strong. And the sound quality is really great. In fact, it's been part of my pedal board, a core part of my pedal board where I get my sounds from for quite a while. However, it has some limitations. And I'll tell you what those are. In particular, well, it has MIDI in and out, which I use on my pedal board, from everything just switching presets even. And unfortunately, with this unit, I don't know if they thought people just wouldn't use it or didn't care or what, but normally when a pedal has MIDI, right, it usually has 128 presets. Well, not on this one. You get 24 presets and that's it. In fact, I remember at one time I even emailed Line 6 begging them to add the rest of the presets. You know, where are they? Why are there only 24 presets instead of 128? Limitation of the pedal. But beyond that, there's also some bad things about this pedal. One, obviously the size of it. The display was okay. It was, different colored display and so on. However, you see these things? The foot switches, right? Pure crap. I mean, I can't believe they use these. And they also use these same foot switches on the Pod series, like the HX500, I think it was, or the Pod 500 and 500X or whatever. And these have a tendency to go out or just not work, basically. In fact, this particular one, the on-off foot switch, right, you've got to hit it a few times to get it to come on or come off. Right, crappy design. The other thing is this knob right here. Right, probably the most important knob there is on this pedal. One is you turn it to select presets, but to select the effects categories, you press it down. Right? And here's another limitation. You'd press it down and it wouldn't switch categories. In other words, it didn't work very well. And on top of that, the plastic cover on top of the switch, sometimes you'd have to pull that off and put it back on for it to switch properly. So these things drove me crazy with this pedal. As far as bad things about the pedal. That and the number of presets was lousy. On top of that, there's more. Okay, because of the size of the pedal, I'm not sure why, but the power required for this pedal was huge. Right, it was like 2 amps or something. 9 volt, 2 amps. In other words, you couldn't really run it off your pedal board power supply. You'd have to have a separate power supply. Now some power supplies could handle it, but not very easily. I'll tell you that right now. And so I would have problems with it turning off and turning back on, right, because of the power issue. You know, it just required so much power. So with all that being said, you know, I wasn't really thrilled with that. However, I love the sound of it. Love the selection of effects and presets and so on. So that's the Line 6 M5. And on my short board, small pedal board, and on my large one, I have one of these. Okay, because as I said, it's a core part of my sound. Now, here's the thing. Recently, or at least recently to me, they kind of snuck it in there. I didn't realize that for a long time. Well, Line 6 came out with the Line 6 HX1. Wow, what is that? Right? HX1. And as it turns out, it really is an updated M5. Right? Comes in a very stylish box, by the way. Very nice box. There's a picture of the pedal on there. Okay. And, well, the HX1, though, however, was $249, whereas the M5 new was about $169. So it's more expensive, first of all. So what do you get for that expense? Alright, well, let's go through the list. First, my complaints. Right? The size of it. Right? Now it's actually a smaller pedal. More what you'd find in line to like an Eventide H9 or a Boss DD200 size-wise. It's actually quite small, really. The screen is very nice, OLED screen. However, whereas the M5 used to have different colors on the screen, they did away with that, and it's just black and white now, pretty much. Which is okay, because you can read it really well. Okay, other things. So size has been reduced compared to the M5 here. Next thing, they got rid of these cruddy buttons, these cruddy foot switches. Whoever designed those is an idiot. They just don't last. They're lousy. In fact, there was a guy making a living replacing these on Line 6 M5s, in fact. That's how bad they were. Okay, so they got rid of those and actually used better foot switches, better feeling foot switches. Then the knobs as well feel a lot better as that. But they didn't just stop there. Okay. They went from 24 presets via MIDI to 128 presets via MIDI. Well, that's the thing I'd been asking for years. Right? Don't forget, I've been using this thing probably 10 years or so. A long time, anyway. And sure enough, on the HX1, you get 128 presets. Now, I was a little skeptical. I go, well, wait a minute. Does it have the same effects as the Line 6 M5, and sure enough, they're all there. Right? Over 100 effects are all found in the HX1. However, the HX1 has 250 effects available versus the 100 here. And the way it does that is it includes all of the effects of the M series of pedals by Line 6, but also includes all of the effects found in their Helix boards, right? And don't forget, those are really expensive boards, like $1,800 or something like that, or $14.99 maybe, yeah. So you're getting those effects in there as well. Well, that was a no-brainer for me. I mean, I definitely had to get one. And I did. And the very first thing I did was check to see if it had the same effects, and if I could go ahead and replace the M5. And that detailed having the presets be in the same location as the M5, so that when I would recall it on my MIDI pedal board, foot switch, right, that it would switch to the correct effect. And sure enough, it did with no problems. So at that point, I went ahead and sold 2 of the 4 M5s that I had. And luckily those were in pretty nice condition. I mean, all the foot switches worked and everything. I've got 2 left, and they're kind of clunky. Just those foot switches or the controller knob, right? You have to hit them several times to get them to work. So I don't know if I'm stuck with those or what. Maybe sell them for parts. I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, the HX1, right, is everything I've ever wanted from an effects pedal that was lacking in the M5. You know. In fact, I almost, after a while, you know, I had these really nice pedals that were pretty modern, you know. The Eventide H9, for example, you know, and yet I still relied on the M5, which is just an old pedal. So anyway, I got the HX1, and man, I couldn't recommend it highly enough. And we can take a look at it here. It's a little black pedal. Here it is. I've actually got it on there. It's got the 6 switches, or 6 knobs up here, and then 2 foot switches. Let's see if I can get that better. There we go, you can see it a little better there. So there it is, it's very small. And so you may be asking yourself, well, how does it sound? And let me tell you, it just sounds fantastic. In fact, there are some effects I didn't even know, right? I hadn't played before, perhaps from the Helix. One in particular is the pitch whammy, right? I can show you that. And basically, it's kind of a bass effect, really. And I really like the sound of it. Very mellow. turn off the HX1. Okay, now, one of the units that I use here, presets that I use very often, that was carried by the M5, was the bass emulation. Okay. Then another one that I used is on the clean sound. When I would turn that off, the M5 used to come on and give me kind of a swelled sound. Well, it's the same thing on the HX1. I found the exact one. It's auto volume echo. So it kind of swells in. And man, when you mix these up with, like here's one called Multi-Head. Using this in combination with the H9s. And I mean, we could go through a ton of these. Like here's a phase echo. Oops. Let me turn off my... Really high quality sound. I mean, it's really, there's no noise or anything like that. And some of these I just wasn't familiar with because they come from the Helix. And there's a really nice reverb. one called Searchlights. Right. And all of these sounds are basically put together in in categories, so they're really easy to find. As far as all the delays and reverbs and things are each their own category. So it's called particle verb. As far as setting levels and doing anything like that, I didn't have to do anything to it except just plug it in. It was ready to go, except for one thing, and that is the MIDI control. Right? They had changed the MIDI parameters. Right? In other words, to turn on an effect or turn it off, on the M5 it's continuous controller 11, and on the HX1 it's continuous controller 4. So you've got to switch that out, I guess. Yeah, but just that really nice sound. Another thing I really like about this pedal is it's so easy to change the settings, right? The parameters within one effect. So for example, in this particle verb, I'll go ahead and just mess with the parameters. Let's see how it sounds differently. So that's quite a drastic change from most of these you should be able to find a sound for it. And you can switch the octaves as well. Let's change both of those. So bring the octaves up. Same effect. Monophonic, so you can only really hit one note at a time, or else you get glitches. Kind of like right there, compared to kind of like that John Carpenter-ish type stuff. Okay. Same synthesizer sound, but this time with some reverb and kind of shimmerish kind of sound. And there's a bunch of them. I mean, this is the coolest thing. So for example, you could, like if you loop that, go back to the preset, the low one. all those sounds, the synthesizer sounds, are coming from the HX1. Now keep in mind, I've only had this pedal a couple days, so I haven't even really populated my foot switch pedal board with sounds from it, you know, and also using it with other pedals to get certain sounds, you know. Now, of course, it has delays and reverbs and phasers and so on and so on. There's not much that this doesn't have. It even has a looper of some sort. You know. Oh, and one bonus, it has a preset librarian, which is another thing I had asked Line 6 for years ago. For this one. Because it's really cumbersome you have to hit 2 foot switches to find the presets. It's a lot easier on the HX1, though you still have to hit 2 switches. However, now they have for your PC or Mac, right, they have a librarian, preset librarian, that you can go through. And it'll list all the presets and what they are, because you've got 128 of them. It'd be kind of hard to scroll through 128 presets to find the one you're looking for. Okay. So I still have a ton of work to do with this, you know, to really get it settled and start building sounds. And building sounds from working with the HX1 pedal for a certain preset, right, where I can customize the parameters of the effect and then save that. And then also doing the same thing with my other pedals and combining them all into one sound, right? And they're just great, just really, really nice. Just, I couldn't ask for more, really. I guess there is one thing, and this reminds me of the Pod 500 as well. I remember I had gotten a Pod 500 and was discouraged to see that all the presets had different volumes, right? And it's kind of the same way here, a little bit. It's not that big a deal, though, I guess, because you go in and create your own sounds, you know, and you can set the level that way. But it's something that, if you ask me, they're going to come out with a firmware update and they will fix that. I'm guessing, but I wouldn't be surprised. Is it worth $249? Unbelievably so, yes. It's just a joy to work with. Very simple, straightforward pedal. You know, they did a really great job. And you don't have to mess with this anymore. Makes it even more worthwhile. So if you're looking for an effects unit that has a ton of effects, you know, and you can live with one effect at a time, which I personally like, because I remember I had gotten the M13, which was basically like 4 or 5 of these in one, thinking, oh man, this is going to be great, you know, and I was going to hook up all these different effects together, and as it turns out, sometimes less is more, and keeping it to one effect at a time is a great way of not ruining your guitar sounds with too many effects, you know, which I've heard plenty of, you know, where you've got 7 or 8 different effects going, and it's just a wash in effects, and you can't even hear the guitar, you know. So one effect at a time is great, really, for that. And yeah, it's just a simple joy to use. I mean, just very simple. Everything works correctly and feels nice, if you like. Nothing clunky. That's a good word, yeah. So, highly recommended. Alright, very good. I'll see you next time.